for Squarespace.
Yeah, I guess I need to talk about that as well. Oh, you're back finally. I mean, where you been all night? I mean, it's... You just got something on your face there, cat. Just... Good night, was it? Hello everyone, welcome to episode 59. Today we're going to continue making scatter terrain. Well, it's not really scatter terrain, it's kind of just pieces of terrain that's not really big enough to justify its own video. So I do get a lot of messages and comments saying, when's the next video out? I'm really looking forward to it, which is like, a really big compliment to me that someone is actually looking forward to a video that I'm making. And I kind of want to explain why it takes so long between videos. I'm not a weekly vlogger, as I've explained before. I mean, obviously, I hope there's some kind of level of production quality in my videos. The sound effects takes me forever. The weird transitions and the weird stopgap cutting and the animations and stuff like that. And also, I'm a father of two. My wife works. She works outside of the house. I work in here. And my kids are just out there. So I have two kids. One I have to take to school. So he's old enough to go to school. One is too young to go to school. So basically, I'm like a house husband, I'm a desperate house husband. So I basically do look after kids while I'm making these videos. And kids just get ill constantly. I had a comment the other day saying that I get ill constantly. Yeah, but I get ill because my kids get ill and they cough directly into my mouth. It's like a game for them, like 50 points straight in there. I just wanted to explain why, it does seem like a long time between videos. And it does, even to me, it seems like a long time. But it won't be the case forever. In the near future, both children will be in school, which means I'll definitely be able to get a video out every 2 weeks. I may even be able to get 3 videos out in a month. I don't know why I'm going on about this, but I just wanted to say thank you, I guess, to patrons. Thank you, patrons. If you'd like to become a patron and help keep this channel going, invest in the channel, there's a link down below. So let's get on with the video. I say let's get on. I'm actually going to just talk about Neil's box from Real Terrain Hobbies quickly before we... He hasn't sponsored the video, but he's a really nice bloke, and I want to show what's inside the box that he's selling. So let's do that right now. So before we get started, I just want to talk about this box that I was sent the other week by Neil at Real Terrain Hobbies. Now this isn't sponsored, it was just very nice of him to send me this box, and I thought, a lot of you ask what sort of stuff should I get to start crafting, and basically I think it's everything that's in this box. So here we go, that's some kind of plaster. Hopefully I've given myself enough time to explain what each item is. No, I haven't. Okay, that's some sculpting tools there, that's that's quite nice. Some flocking stuff, a nice big brush, some fast mache, I guess that's like paper mache stuff, some spready things, some shrubs and tufts, always worth having, and some more flock. We have a nice craft knife, look at that, that's quite nice, and some brushes, paint brushes, always need more paint brushes, a glue gun that I used last week, it's wireless, quite handy, some glue sticks, a robot toothbrush, more lovely flocking things like rocks and little gravelly bits, they look good, weathering pigments, we can use those to weather stuff, and some tweezers, always need tweezers, a lovely razor saw set, I do need another one of those actually, a nice metal ruler for not measuring things, paints, we always need paints, there's some more metallic paints, I'll have to try those, and this gel stain thing, I'm not sure what this is, I'll try this later on. Wood glue, always good. Wood glue looks like a good brand actually, and a good brand of super glue, thick. Milliput 2-part epoxy, always need that. And some little candles, I think I sat on one of those. A straw, a drinking straw. Maybe Neil dropped that in there, I'm not sure. Some balsa wood, worth its weight in gold. It doesn't weigh much, but still, worth its weight in gold. An MDF kit to make a house that I'll probably make at some point off camera for fun. A palette thing. And a colour book, disposable paint palette. I think they're kind of like wet palettes. Cork board, a little spray bottle, a cutting mat. There's a lot of things in here. Oh look, it's an extendable cutting mat. That's actually really cool. And it says, Real terrain hobbies. I see what you're trying to do, Neil. Nice try, nice try. But honestly, it's a good box set full of everything you need to make pretty much anything I make. So if you want to start, get this box set. Link down below. That wasn't even the sponsored message. That's later. Previously on Bill Making Stuff, Bill drew some pictures of crates and then he decided to make them using junk and bits of wood and stuff like that and Jenga cargo and I made some cargo last week, some scattered terrain. I also made this futuristic well thing that looked a bit like a nipple at the end. I think there's going to be a theme in my scattered terrain. You'll see later. But yeah, I said I was going to make this bounty board and I was going to make these weird kind of food dome things. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to finish this off. And yeah, that's it really. I hope you enjoy. Honestly, yeah, that's it really. This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Now, Squarespace is like a website where you go to make websites. It's like babies who make babies, but not really, because babies can't make babies. Let me start again. Squarespace is a really cool website builder that is really easy to use. Like if you wanted to make a pickle website, look, like here, you can just take this template, just change the words around, change the pictures, and you've got your own pickle website. I made my own website with it. It took me about 2 seconds. And here it is. I still haven't updated it, but I will. But it is really easy to use. I mean, it is ridiculously easy to use. Some could say it's too easy to use, you know, some people, but not me. I think it's really nice and easy. I think you should go check it out. There's a link down below. That's about it. And that's it. That's enough with the products and the sponsor messages. I feel like I've overloaded you with that. I've overloaded all over your face. But let's get on with the build. I need to find my box full of weird plastic plants. Now it's around here. There it is, you. Come on, come out, you. Here we go. So for quite a while, I've been collecting plastic plants out of charity shops and pound shops and anywhere that sells cheap plastic plants, you know, for like fish tanks or Christmas wreaths. I don't know. Always a good thing to look out for and collect, you know, if you're going to make terrain, plastic plants. You know, I even took these little palm trees off my son's birthday cake. I think he had a dinosaur themed birthday. These little bits at the end look like little bushes and these look like weird alien plants, which, you know, handy for me. This is a clear plastic bauble for Christmas. You put your own stuff in there, make your own bauble. But I buy them cheap after Christmas from the pound store. And I've always wanted to use them for a food dome. I think these things came first and then the idea second. These are coasters from a charity shop, you know, £3.50. I think I was ripped off, actually. That's, you know, oh, it says set of 8. I've only got 4. So what I like about these coasters is that they have cork on the bottom. Now cork makes quite good ground texture when you can't be bothered to make ground texture. This is a rasping tool. Basically I use it to rough things up, you know, when stuff needs to be roughed up. Like when someone sells you something that's supposed to be a set of 8 but only comes in a set of 4. You know, I'm not going to dwell on it. I mean, she was about 80 years old and she couldn't really see properly. I reckon I could have her. So I'm going to cut up some plastic plants and make like a weird crop inside the dome, if you didn't get that already. So when working with transparent things like this dome, you're going to be able to see through it, so you need to work in the right order. I'm going to paint the ground with this brown paint and Mod Podge and baking powder, because once the dome's on top, I won't be able to get in there to paint it. So, you know, it gets a little bit confusing of what step you should be doing next, and I'm pretty sure I'll mess it up later. But in the meantime, that looks like a chocolate digestive biscuit. So I went to my local gaming shop and I bought these weird Turbo Dork paints because I wanted to support them, and I just wanted to see what they do. I know they kind of shift with the light and you have to paint them on a black undercoat, which I'm probably not going to do. For no reason other than I just couldn't be bothered. Now this first paint is called Laserface. I'm just going to tint these leaves. I want them to look a little bit alien and metallic. And I know it's supposed to be on a black undercoat, but it actually looks okay. It looks all right. So while I'm at it, I'm going to try this one. This one's called 3D Glasses. I'm going to do the same thing. No black undercoat. I know, stop screaming at the screen. It's fine. It looks fine. It looks good to me. But it does look quite similar to the first one. So I'm probably just going to use the first one. Yeah, they look pretty similar. Anyway, they're pretty cool paints. Go check them out. This isn't a demonstration of these paints of any kind. But Turbo Dog, if you want to send me some free stuff, there's a PO box down below. Same for any company that just wants to send me stuff and have me not use them properly. So after turbo dorking up all those leaves, we're going to make the ground cover look a bit moist and wet. You know, it's supposed to be wet dirt. It's moist dirt. There's lots of moisture in this dome, you know, because it's very moist. Why do people hate the word moist? I really don't understand that. It's I imagine like moist lemon cake, you know, lemon sponge, moist. So I want to frost up the glass a little bit from the inside. I'm going to use this little scourer to kind of just gently rub it, not too much. You know, once you've scoured it, you can't really go back. Originally, I was just going to leave it as leaves, but then I thought to myself, no, it should be some kind of weird alien or genetically engineered fruit. So I'm going to use these little beads. A little tip, if you want to paint stuff that's small and fiddly, just stick them all in a little cup and just basically stir them with the paint. Now, Tutti Frutti, obviously, the most tastiest of all the paints. Not that I've tasted them all, just most of them. Yum yum. Some tin foil, aluminum foil, tin foil. I'm going to use this to hold some super glue. There's a little temporary super glue holder tray thing. So now I just need to attach all of the tiny little bead fruits to the little tiny bushes using some tweezers and a little speck of super glue. Sounds, you know, it looks fiddly, it looks tricky, it looks like it would take a long time and be really hard to do, you know. And it was. It was really hard to do. It drove me mad, actually. I think that's why I'm rambling so much, because I think something cracked up there. Anyway, I got it done. Twice. Did I not say that I was making 2 domes? Because I am, yeah, I forgot to mention. In the drawing there were 2 domes and the OCD part of my brain decided to make 2 domes, which, you know, took twice as long. Ooh, look at that, what a lovely craft knife. I'm going to be using EVA foam to make strips of metal which can run along the rim of the dome. I'm just going to show you. That's how video works. It's so good, video, you know. It's not radio. I can just show you. Look, see, I'm doing it just there. I don't have to talk about it really, but I will, because, you know, this awkward silence between us is just, it's unbearable. I'm using laminate floor tiles again as a base for these pieces. It works really well because it doesn't warp with PVA glue and things like that. And, you know, as long as you're not making something too big. If it's too big, it becomes a bit floppy. I mean, that's what my dad said. Hold on. Yeah, I can see you're going to see the orange strip through the glass, aren't you? It's not going to... Look at that, look, it's fine, it's all fine now. I'm fine. I'm just going to, you know... Toys! Lots of toys. I'm digging through my box of toys. These are little bits of old toys and just bits of old kits and just lots of bits of toys. I don't want to use that bit, I think. I quite like that bit. Now, I wish I could tell you where this little bit of plastic came from. I seem to have 2 of these, and I have no idea, you know, where they're from. But, you know, the point is, look for interesting bits of plastic, old toys and things like that, and collect them. I'm using a bit of EVA foam on the back of this plastic to stick this plastic to that plastic, because that's really hard to do. But EVA foam seems to stick to anything, so that's a good tip for you there. So I'm going to use these old water pistol parts as kind of pipes sticking off the machine. I want the machine to look more like a machine. I want wires and pipes and just all sorts of greeblies to make it look more complicated than it actually is. Now, I don't need to know what this pipe does, you know, or this pen lid thing does, but it will look cool. And it's a sci-fi machine, so basically just go crazy. I do end up making an areola and a nipple, as you can see there. That was not intentional, and I have made 2 domes, which makes it seem like it's intentional, but it really wasn't. It was, I don't know. I'm so lonely. Get it together, Bill. Get it together. These are parts from pens and old spray bottles, and that's some Christmas wire. Sorry, generic holiday wire that I'm going to use as wire. Now, although I say, you know, basically do what you want, I did have some kind of idea, like the pipe leads moisture up through the top and kind of sprays down on the crops. The aerial thing kind of gives out readings so you can check on the crops. Things like that, you know, really kind of basic, loose ideas. Now, at this point, I realized there was no way to actually get in and take the crops out, so I decided to make a little hatch that people could climb through. But that was an afterthought, really. I honestly didn't think of it until that point. But luckily I got to it eventually, and save your comments. Now it's time to add some rivets to the build, because we need some rivets, because then I get to do things, you know, like this really. So we're at the midpoint of the video, and I want to kind of talk about some things. Basically, well, one, okay, I have a little list here. Follow me on Instagram, you would have seen these. I do illustrations and I scan them in the computer, and I don't need them anymore. So, you know, if anyone would like to, you know, purchase these or bid for them, I'm going to stick them up on eBay for 99p. I'll put the links down below. See, lots of characters you haven't seen yet, and you know, some old classics. But anyway, yeah, I was thinking of sticking them on the wall, but then I feel like, you know, like a kid sticking their pictures up on the fridge. When you stick your own pictures up on the wall, it just doesn't. I like sticking other people's illustrations on my wall. Also, I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about other YouTubers that I watch, you know, and maybe make some recommendations to you. So this week I want to recommend Bobby Fingers. He has a channel that I love. I'm not going to talk too much about it. You have to just go and subscribe and watch. But if you like this channel, you're probably going to love his channel even more than this one, because I do. Also, another thing, I received this interesting game in my PO box. Now I was thinking, you know, I really like independent games, like Planet 28 is one I've already talked about, but this is Fishing 28. Basically, it's a game where you go fishing with 28mm characters and little markers for fish, and it's just, you know, you roll dice to see what happens. You know, you get in buggerances, you know, like there's some rocks, a bad current. You could be attacked by the beast, which is, I assume it's a giant scary fish. Anyway, it's really fun and interesting, and I really like it. And so if you have an interesting game like this and you want to send it to me and I can talk about it on here, please do send it to me. Hopefully physical. I like physical copies. Go follow Apocrypha now on Instagram, and maybe download a copy of Fishing 28. It's fun. It's fun. I like it. I think that's it for the promotion of others and myself. I don't want to. We also sell t-shirts of Cat, and I'm not going to stand up. No, look at the t-shirt. I'm not going to spin around. I can't spin around in here. This is the Cat t-shirt that we sell in the our merchandise store on Spring. Link down below. And it doesn't usually come this crease. You have to do that yourself. Cat gets 20% of 30%, 40, 50, 40, 60% of the profits. 60%. You can buy your own beads for dinner. So we're going to make a bounty board. Now these are clothes pegs. You get them from the pound shop. And they're a cool shape, so we're going to use those along with these. These are window spaces, I believe. I think they're window spaces. I always forget every single episode. Comments down below. Now, this is a hair curler. I like using hair curlers because it's a very cool kind of grill pattern on there. You know, you just need to heat them up sometimes and squish them. Oh, look at that, lovely. This is corrugated card. Look, it says so right there. So this bounty board is for the town of Respite. Now, the town of Respite is a town that I've been building, if you've been following my videos. And this town is basically built using scrap materials, scrap metal, corrugated iron, you know, anything like that. Basically, it means I stick lots of corrugated card and EVA foam over my builds, basically hiding any detail I had there originally. Now, people often get impatient with my videos. They want the video to come out sooner than it can, and I'm always trying to come up with good excuses why it takes so long. And I think I know why. It's probably because I keep doing, you know, silly things like this. Complete waste of time. I mean, honestly, complete waste of time. This is Bill walking around a charity shop, looking for toys to use for my build. What's the voice that turds? What? So in my local charity shop, I found a bag of dinosaur bones. Look at that. Quite handy. The quality of the toy bones vary quite a bit, but you know, we can use them. So the Respite bounty board is basically a place where you stick bounties, you know, on criminals and you know, birthday invitations, things like that. But I imagine there are a lot of creatures that stalk people in the countryside and in the desert, and people want them killed. So they stick a bounty up there, and a lot of people bring the bones back and display them on the board. So this creature on top of the board is a snakeadile. It's basically a snake mixed with, I don't know what it's called, I just made it up just there, but you know, basically it's a snake with a crocodile looking face. It looks cool, this thing, and you know, this thing, we're going to use his head. Basically, we don't know what they're called, but patrons, you are welcome to name every single creature on this board. Maybe that foot belonged to something that you know the name of and I don't. But patrons, let me know, because, you know, I am terrible at naming things. Now, these are toothpicks that I'm going to use as like ruster spears that someone maybe brought home as a trophy. There we go, lots of animal pieces, a few human skulls, but let's not talk about that, you know. This is a piece of chain. Now, when you use a piece of chain, you can get chain anywhere. Look in your wife's jewellery box, you know, your daughter's jewellery box, your dad's jewellery box, you'll find a piece of chain, and just super glue it in place. And I think that's that. There we go. A nice looking bounty board. Well, maybe not nice looking, maybe a little bit morbid. There's lots of, you know, murder on there. So no prime time this week, no Zenithal Prime, because I decided to use glass domes. So I decided to paint them all black very carefully. But anyway, you know, it's paint time. Paint time is boring time, which means story time with Bill. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really have a story for this food dome. You know, inanimate objects are pretty hard to make stories about. But I do have some, you know, maybe some facts, some interesting trivia that I can tell you about them. Anyone who's been watching my videos knows that everything I build is kind of canon. It's all within one universe. It's all within basically one world. You know, any creature, any character, you know, I like them all to be connected in a way. It kind of adds weight to everything I build. My main focus at the moment is the town of Respite. Now, Respite is the first port of call for adventurers and anyone that wants to land on the planet and, you know, explore. So I'm focusing on that first. And these are the food domes in Respite. So the town of Respite is essentially a kind of junk scrap town made from old abandoned ship parts and machinery, and it's in the middle of a desert, so it's very hard to grow food. So they had to create food domes. Food domes are essentially futuristic greenhouses that your granddad has, one of those. Basically somewhere to keep the moisture in, to keep the dirt wet, and to grow crops. So there's not a lot of room in a food dome, and there's not a lot of food domes, so you have to be very particular about what you grow. So the townies of Respite decided to grow Eden fruits. Now Eden fruits are the most efficient fruit in the universe. Basically, they have every kind of nutrient, vitamin, they have carbohydrates and proteins, and protein is kind of unheard of in fruit. Now there's stories about the fruit, how it's worshipped on some planets, because it is essentially life, the fruit of life. They think that their creator or their God has given them the gift of this fruit. Because it's perfect, how can something be so perfect without a creator, a designer, Well, it did have a designer. It had a group of scientists in a lab civilizations ago. Basically some scientists created the perfect fruit because, they could. They basically genetically engineered a fruit. But no one knows that anymore. So all they see is perfect design in something that apparently is grown from the earth. And there you go. I've talked about fruit. I've made a story up about fruit. Apparently it tastes pretty good and you can make some pretty good booze out of it. So I mentioned before that Respite is a port town. It's the first port of call for adventurers who want to travel to Tapu and explore. Hence the town bounty board. If you need a creature killed or someone brought in, stick a wanted poster up on the bounty board. Now, not a lot of people return to claim the reward because they've obviously died in some tragic way out there in the wastes. So some of the posters on the board are pretty ancient. There are some that are 70 odd years old, and I think the people that put them up there are probably long since died themselves. Now, it's not all bounty posters and wanted posters. There are other posters. There are help wanted at the local pub, the King's End Inn. There are also lots of posters trying to recruit for the gasmen. In the centre of town, there's a mysterious hatch, basically like a vault door. Everyone calls it the shaft. Now, this shaft goes down underground, and no one really knows what's down there. There's lots of rooms, corridors, stairwells, and weird machinery and alien technology. But it's very dangerous, obviously. And people like to go down there, explore, get treasure, and quickly come back up. Now, that's what the gasmen are. The gasmen recruit people from outside. They give them a gasman suit, which is essentially like a space suit, something to protect them from gases and toxins and things like that. And they send them down there and hope for the best. Now, the gasmen have just given up with the locals, basically. They're kind of a separate faction. They know they can't get the local townies to go down there because the local townies see how few return. And that's where the expression getting shafted came from. Well, story over. Time to make some posters. Now, this gel stain thing I got in the big Real Terrain hobby box set earlier. I'm not sure exactly what it's for, but I'm going to use it to stain this paper. Like when you use coffee or tea bags as a kid to make an old treasure map. Basically that. Now I've got this fine liner, it's 0.03, I think that's pretty fine. I mean that's pretty fine. That gel stain stuff actually works pretty well, it looks like old paper. Now once you've done your little drawing, you want to kind of bend the corners a little bit, tatter it up a little bit, just like that. And there we go, a wanted poster. This is quite fun actually. So I'm going to use some super glue to stick these little posters on, just a tiny bit, mind, not too much, because it was spread over the sides, and super glue on your builds always looks terrible, shiny. It's like a varnish, gloss varnish, where you don't want it. So be really careful with super glue. I'm sure I get some, yeah, look, there's a little bit sticking over the edge there. But anyway, there we go, my bounty board. I really enjoyed making this. I quite like the tiny little details. It's quite nice spending a bit of time on something so detailed. Anyway, enough of that. So here we go. I finished. I made 2 of these because obviously I said I made 2 because I drew 2. That's weird and obsessive, isn't it? But I'm quite happy with these. They look much better in person because you can see through them. There's a really immature part of me that just wants to kind of do. But I won't do it. I really loved making this bounty board. Now, it reminds me, I have an idea for Patreon, and basically just, you know, for people in general, but mainly Patreon members. I'm going to write little short stories involving the world that all this stuff is in, from first-person diary entries of someone entering, you know, maybe respite and going out on an adventure. You know, in the style of H.P. Lovecraft, maybe. You know, exploring stuff for the first time with the writer, you know, and stick them up on Patreon for patrons and see if they like them. And I think that's it. I think that's everything on my list. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything else? For God's sake. Can you not put that on when you get there? Glamour shots in a second, and I see you next time. See you later. And there we go, my booby foodie gnomes. I don't know why they ended up so booby. Definitely a Freudian nip, I mean Freudian slip. But, you know, they look good. They look better in person because you can actually see through the glass. It's quite hard to film. And here's my bounty board. Now, my bounty board is one of my favourite things I built in quite a while. What do you think? Comments down below. I also found it a very effective way of sharing some lore. But none of this would be possible without my patrons. I really do. I love you more than boobs. Is that offensive to anyone who has boobs? I don't know. I'm just trying to express how much I really appreciate you lot keeping me going.